sewing friends, welcome to my sewing room. My name is Beth, and if you're new, welcome. Today's quilt block I'm calling Prairie Patch. I'm using some beautiful blues and greens to make this scrappy quilt block. And to make the quilt block, I need some squares, and all of these squares here are 4 inches. And then my alternate color here, these squares are 2 1/4 inch. I need 8 of those. And I need 8 more 2 1/4 inch squares, and for that center I'm using 2-inch squares, and all of this will be down below in the description box. First of all, I'm going to take my colored squares, my 4-inch squares, and I'll be adding those little 2 1/4 inch squares in 2 of the corners. I'm drawing a pencil line on that first one, and I'm going to sew right on that pencil line. After I double checked to make sure that it covered that corner, I cut off the excess behind, and I will lay the other 2 1/4 inch square in the other corner, and I'll draw another pencil line, and they do overlap a little there in the middle. They should overlap just 1/4 inch so that when I put my block together I will not lose that point. I'll be using those little 2 1/4 inch squares on all 4 of my colored 4-inch squares, just covering 2 corners of each of those squares. After pressing that first element of my quilt block, I'm going to begin working on the 4 white squares in the corners there. I'll be putting a 2 1/4 inch square on opposite sides of this white square, and again I'm drawing a pencil line, but as I got going I stopped drawing the line and I just started eyeballing that pencil line. this point, this quilt block is called a prairie flower, but I'm changing it just a little bit, and I'm going to be adding 2-inch squares all around that center square. So if you look in a quilt book, prairie flower would be this quilt block so far, and I'm adding one more element to make it just a little bit different. So all of those 2-inch squares will go in each corner of my white square, and I'm sewing from corner to corner. I'll cut away the excess there, and then when I get this center square ready, I'll put my quilt block together. I'm going to continue making blocks, and I would like my quilt to be scrappy, so I chose this pretty vintage blue for the 4 squares in this quilt block, and I tried to find some colors that would kind of coordinate with that blue, and I'm not sure I did the best job with this quilt block, but my theory is if you get enough quilt blocks in your quilt, no one's really going to notice that that one quilt block wasn't quite as pretty as you would like. So that wasn't my favorite block, but I'm going to keep going. I really don't like discarding quilt blocks when I'm making a quilt. I usually leave a quilt block even though it's not my favorite. This quilt block here that I'm working on right now probably was my favorite, probably because I did a better job of getting some contrast between the darker fabrics and the lighter fabrics. So I'm going to keep working on this quilt, and I'll give you a little idea of what it might look like when it's all together. This quilt block's called Prairie Patch. It's 11 inches before sewing everything together, and I think it's going to make a beautiful quilt. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.